what's going on, YouTubers, gamers and hobbyists? Welcome to this tutorial of this Space Crusade Blood Angel. Now this is the colour of the plastic you get in the box as is, and I'm just going to paint it up in a grim dark fashion using my grim dark technique, or one of my grim dark techniques. I won't be using any airbrushes or fancy brushes or anything like that. So, first thing, of course, is to prime it. Now, obviously, it's not the same model, but it is an identical model. One I have pre-primed. I've hand brushed it, and using a black primer as a base. This is very important because the grim dark effect needs a dark undercoat. And this is my homemade stippling brush. Again, with this, no fancy brushes. These are all cheapy brushes. One that was worn out, so snipped it in half with a pair of scissors. And there you can see Vallejo primer, because it's nice and thin, and it keeps detail lovely. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to start off with a base coat of Rhinox hide. Now the first few few coats are going to be a stippling. Now just taking it straight from the pot, and I'm just dabbing it on. Obviously, like I would a dry brush, I wipe off the majority of the paint onto a piece of tissue first, or whatever you've got to hand. And so I'm just stabbing it all over the model. And this is doing one of two things. One, it's giving it a dark undercoat as a base color, and two, it gives it a very, very, very fine texture, which is important for later. Actually, if you want to go further with your model. Now you can use these techniques for any Space Marine or Primaris Marine. Please bear in mind that this is a old school Space Marine. It's nice and small. It looks big on the screen, but that's only because it's zoomed in so much. So I'm ensuring I catch the majority of the model with this Rhinox hide. It doesn't have to be a complete smooth coverage all over, and there's the difference between this technique that I'm using and, say, a Games Workshop one. So we will make sure that is dry before we move on to our next main color, which is Mephiston Red. Now we will really actually start seeing the model take shape in its grim dark red awesomeness. Again, we're stabbing the model, or we will be, and we're pretty much going to go ever so slightly less than before, but it will be barely noticeable. So we're going to, again, straight from the pot, wipe it off, stabbing it on, and we want those dark recesses, the grimy, dark, grim dark future awaiting him. And he will at least start to look like a grim dark blood angel at this stage. That's exactly what we want. So stabbing this all over. Obviously, we're not fussed about deep recesses like, under the arms, just behind the backpack, that kind of thing. But we are going to get in pretty much everywhere else. And that's important, because this Mephiston Red is like the mainstay color of the Blood Angel Marine. And do bear in mind, this is for a board game. It's for Space Crusade, so this isn't even like tabletop standard. Now I admit at the moment it looks a bit rough and ready, but that's the point, guys. He is supposed to look battle worn. So our next paint for the stippling technique is Evil Sun Scarlet. Now this is a brighter red, quite a bit brighter. Again, same technique, straight from the pot, wipe it off and stab. This time, however, we're not going to go as far. So we're going to go we're going to do like a from the top down kind of what a lot of people would call a zenithal highlight, although it isn't, because when you're doing proper highlighting, you tend to catch one side more than the other, or the light would. So this isn't actually a true, authentic highlight, but it's doing the job for a game piece. Now we want to leave things like the insides of the legs, that kind of thing. But after this, he's just going to look like a dirty Space Marine, which will have a similar effect to putting like loads of washes on him and that. We're going to use a couple of washes, but not like you would using a Games Workshop technique. This is my recipe that I have concocted for the Blood Angels, and I wanted to get this Blood Angel one out. I want to do one for all of them. So moving on to Asterath Red. This is actually a dry paint, and we're going to be switching to a smaller stipple brush as well to do this. Again, it's a homemade stipple brush. Cut off at the pair of scissors. There you go. Look, you see it there. It's had better days, so we're just going to use that. So no fancy brushes. They're cheap brushes, and so the highlights here are going to be even finer when down sort of the middle. We're going to hopefully blend it in a bit later on. So down the top, across down the middle of the front as well. Other than that, he is a Blood Angel. Just remember, you can use this technique on any Space Marine. The technique, the only difference is the colours, really. We're not going to go too far with this one, as it's just a board game piece, but it's just enough to show you what you just rather than the basic plastic colour that you get with it. And of course I'll be doing the Ultramarines and the Imperial Fists as well. So next we want to put a shade wash, our first shade wash in Carabao Crimson. Now, although this is a shade wash, this is going to do more or less the job of a glaze. Kind of, say, tie the colours together, but it will run in the recesses as well, obviously. But it will have the effect of tying together, being red anyway, as opposed to if you did this black, it would be, well, it would dry messier. It will look more natural when it dries, and you won't really see what it was like before. So we get this all over, quite generous with it, and then we can start hopefully tidying up the model a bit. Don't forget, we've got a sub-assembly of his bolt gun and hands to do as well, so we'll be doing that separately as well. Apologies, I do go off screen a couple of times. I try not to. It's very, very difficult to do these. This isn't exactly the angle I would be painting at naturally, but it does afford the best view, I think, for a video. So there you can see it's all dried. It just looks grimy, dirty, grim dark. Already he's looking like a Space Marine from the grim dark future. Alright, we're going to put some metallic on now in the form of lead belcher. And this we do water down. Going to water that down. And we're going to be using a small layer brush now for the majority of the painting. A small layer brush for this. So we're going to be watering it down like 1-to-1 ratio with water. And we're just going to do a couple of the pieces in the metallics here. His mouthpiece and the vents to the side of his mouthpiece, and a couple on the back as well. You will see under the vents under his backpack too. Apologies, it does go out of focus a couple of times as well. Please do bear in mind, this is the first tutorial I've made in a very long time. We're talking years. It's been a long time. But, back with a vengeance. And hopefully I will improve as time goes by. But you get the general idea of where I'm painting. So if you wanted to follow along, you could. Like I say, you apply these techniques to any Space Marine. I'll do a Primera Space Marine at some point as well for the Blood Angels, because I do want to take it to a higher end finish and show you what you really can accomplish. I'll probably use a couple more expensive brushes for that one though, because it's taken me a long time. I've been doing this stuff for years, painting and hobbying, and it's taken me a long time to realize that you're only partly as good as the tools you use. So if you continue to use cheap brushes, now I know Games Workshop brushes aren't the cheapest, but they're not the best. But if you continue to use cheap brushes, you will only get to a certain point, and you won't be able to get beyond that. Of course, you need to have determination and patience is the mainstay for doing a good paint job, I find, and a good point on your brush at all times. If you haven't got a good point on your brush, you are not going to be able to get a good result. Just saying. So you can see, I know it's slightly out of focus. It's focusing on my thumb there, which is annoying. I should have put it on manual focus. Apologies for that. Like I say, hopefully it'll be better next time, and we'll catch that in due course. Just got a couple more of these events to do. It is annoying seeing it go out of focus there like that, but like I say, you get the main gist of what I'm doing. There were a lot of these backpacks around back in the day. I haven't, since I started collecting Space Crusade and all the bits and bobs for it. It's the first time I've seen them in a long time. But backpacks, as I recall, they varied anyway. I didn't want to do the bottom vents, those square ones. I didn't want to do those. I just didn't fancy it. Now I'm going to paint some black on the bolt. As you can see, I've painted the hands in already using the same techniques, stippling effects that I've done so far. And I've also done the lead belcher roughly on the metal parts of the bolt gun. And I'm going to be using the scale color black for this, because it is a matte black. Well, not only that, it's a very matte black. It dries very matte, and I think it will be quite safe, being that the gun will be in more or less in the middle of the model. It won't get a lot of sort of touchy-feely, as it were. And I will seal the model at the end, because a board game piece, they tend to get a lot of handling, as it were. So painting this in with the matte black, and this is the color I've decided to go with for the weapons, gun weapon casings for my Blood Angels. You have different colors. Like when I do Dark Angels, I pick a red color, for instance. It just breaks it up a bit more, rather than being too dark. I like a nice bit of color, and I like a variant of color too. As you can see, I'm using the assembly holder to hold the bolt gun. It's very handy for painting, I've discovered things like this, of this nature. You can bend it any which way, and you can hold intricate parts and get it just at the angle you want. Like I say, we're not going too far with the with this Blood Angel, not for this Space Crusade game. The good thing is that you don't need many. It's a squad of 5, I think, like 1 commander type and like 4 other Space Marines. I think that's what it is. Anyway, it's either 4, it's either 5 or 6. I think it's 5. But I am going to be painting a lot of variants with the different variations of weapon, because I decided, well, if you've been following my videos, I decided a while back that magnetizing is not for me. Has no place in my world. So, like I say, with this, it's just patience. If you make any mistakes, you can just, again, you still got to be patient. You still got to wait for it to dry, but then just tidy up afterwards. Go back and forth until you're happy with the result you have. But you can see how useful this this assembly holder is. It's very, very handy. And I'm still using the small airbrush. That's the brush I used the most, I think, on this model. And as you saw, I had the backpack already glued onto him when I started. Although some of the Marines I had to do the backpack separately in a similar way to the way I'm painting the gun here now. But it's better to start with it glued on the backpack anyway. But I need to get to his sort of breastplate and belt before that gets glued on. Hence doing it separately. Now we're on to Spaceship Exterior. Still using the same brush. Now this is an off-white, because we're doing this, I'm literally doing this whilst I'm waiting for the gun to dry. I'm going to be putting this on the chest plate eagle, sort of emblem that you can see there. Although the majority of this will be covered up by the gun, and you won't actually see it. I do like to get these sort of areas painted as well as I can, and if I can have the gun out of the way, or arms or whatever might be in the way, then all the better, So this is just the undercoat, what I'm going to be using after or later. I know this probably isn't the best way or best order of colours to be painting this, but like I say, you get the general gist of this from this tutorial. And as I say, you can use the technique for any Blood Angel you like. From a scout to a normal tactical marine to Primaris, or even have dreadnought up to dreadnoughts. Even you can do a similar thing. You can probably tell I'm having a difficult time trying to see what I'm doing at this angle. Now for some Null Oil. Now we're going to put this on, obviously, the metallic areas. Using a 00 brush. For this one, it's a smaller brush with a longer bristle. But at a finer point, and I really didn't feel like tidying up what I'd done before by making mistakes, so I opted for a smaller end. I mean, so I used to hear it said, always use the biggest brush you can. I'd say use whatever brush you're most comfortable with. If that is an insane detail brush for everything, then go for it, use it. If I was taking this up to a higher level, I'd be using like the insane detail brush to put scratches and things on the armor. I'm not going to be doing that on this. This is just a game board piece. But you know, I think he turns out all right, actually. I think he more than measures up. And we'll put his chapter decal on as well at the end. Right, now we're going contrast paint, Black Templar with technical contrast medium in a 1-to-1 mixture. Now, in hindsight, I probably would have just taken the Black Templar straight out of the pot, because I ended up needing 2 coats of this. Now, just a warning to you folks, nothing will wreck your brush quicker than contrast paints next to oil paints anyway. They really do cause a lot of wear and tear on your bristles. So I had to do 2 coats of this. I think you only see me apply 1. When it dried, I just put an extra coat on. It was too light for my liking. I wanted it darker, because the emblems in the my codex are all kind of black, and well, not jet black, but you know, I think it came out all right, to be honest. So I'm fairly happy, and I'm just going over where the null oil was as well, because I wanted to apply a darker glaze. It's a little too light for my liking. It's just a personal preference, really. You don't have to do this. It's just how I like it and how I've gotten used to things over the years. And with the glaze medium, it doesn't run away so much as the shade wash does, like into the recesses. It kind of goes where I want it to more. That makes sense. Okay. Neutral grey is next. This one I'm gonna put some edge highlighting on the bolt gun here. I do actually end up using neutral grey to cover the base as well. You'll see that in a future clip, and that's because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the base at this stage. Obviously, he's on board a Space Hulk, so I can't really be putting his base covered in sand and rocks and things, because that just wouldn't fit. So I thought, well, I'll start with the grey, and I didn't really want to go metallic, but I can put some metallic rivets or something over the top of that. A darker wash, a bit of blood here, and you know, there's things I can do. I can make it kind of look spaceship corridor-y, if that's even a word. But yeah, like I say, use all these techniques for whatever spaceman you want, right up to like a Terminator for Space Hulk, even. This is Space Crusade, so all the like the chapters, you know, they're in their own color, basic plastic. So the like Blood Angels are red, as you saw. the Ultramarines are blue plastic and the Imperial Fists are yellow plastic. So that's, back when I was a kid, I didn't have any, I didn't have the tools or the know-how to do any of this stuff. And plus paints have come on a long way since then as well, as in the science and technology behind paints. Taking quite a while to highlight this one. I wasn't sure which bits I wanted to highlight exactly. Might go off screen again, look, typical. Next, Doombull Brown. Now this is for like leather pouches. He's got a couple on his belt, and I just wanted to fill those in. I'll be honest, a lot of the colours I'm using here are what I have already on my desk, which is a complete mess right now. Too lazy to go looking. It's a mess, but it is a Space Crusade mess, I have to say. So it's a happy mess. Yeah, so it's got 2 pouches, one either side. So although we do highlight them up, we don't put loads of highlights on or anything. Don't do any weathering on the leather or anything like that. But that is the sort of thing I would do on a tabletop Space Marine. And when I get to doing that on another one, I will show you how far I like to go with the detail on like Space Marines and things like that. So yeah, so I will be painting his base neutral grey. You just won't see it. I don't think I show that. And also the vents behind his knees and the tops of his legs, I do in the scale colour black. The matte black. So now is a Baden black. Now it is a shinier black. So I thought I'd use this to base coat the eye lenses with. That's the first base colour. Only because I want the just the very top corners black, but it's just easier to paint the whole lens black to begin with. Very difficult to do this under the camera at this angle. Although it looks like I'm really close to the model, I'm not. I would ordinarily have my head almost on top of the model doing this. There we are. Okay, so Scrag Brown, a lighter brown that I'm going to use to edge highlight the pouches. Any lighter brown you've got lying around will do. Use an XV88 if you want, or whatever. Absolutely fine. I don't put any decals or paint anything on his right shoulder pauldron during this tutorial, because I still haven't decided what sort of company I want him to be. I think most people go for second company because that's just the straightforward yellow teardrop. But I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Which one is it that's two teardrops? I can't remember now, but anyway. Okay, gold yellow by Game Color. Is it Game Color? It's a Vallejo brand anyway. So back to the eyes. So going for the middle down towards the corner, the yellow. Again, patience is key. I can remember a time where I never bothered with eye lenses because I thought too difficult. And yet now, I don't find them too bad at all. Even with my condition, it's still not it's not a bad thing. So you could leave it at that if you wanted to for the eyes, but I do take it a little bit further, just because that's what I'm used to now. So going with flash gets yellow, a brighter yellow again, just for the very bottom corner. I'm still using this small layer brush by Games Workshop just to show that you can do this with the Games Workshop brushes or equivalent thereof. Lovely shot of my thumbnail, to say. Detail on it is phenomenal. But although it's out of focus and covered up or whatever, hopefully you can see that I am doing what I say I'm doing. I am putting the flash gets yellow in the bottom corner of those eye lenses. Very professional production here. Alright, Duncan Roads Painting Academy, 2 thin coats, white start, because that's the first white I came to. Doesn't matter, any white will do. I'm going to go for the obligatory dot in the top corner. I would have liked, in hindsight, to have a bit more black in the corner, but I'm okay. I'm okay with how it came out. So it's a learning curve, this. Fixed focus for next time. Fixed focus. Yeah. Do bear in mind, the model is so much smaller than it looks on the screen. Oh, all the ridges in my skin. Need to put a shade wash over that. Got that little bit of fluff or hair on the end there, which is really annoying me watching this. But yeah, so that's the eye lenses. Decals next. So I'm going with some micro set to put over the area, which prepares the area for your decal. It's just floating in a little bit of water there. Doesn't need long. Cut it as close as you dare to the shape of the decal you want. I'm just applying the micro set there. This will help it slide over the area because although you can't see, I mean you could see it a little bit because it's so zoomed in here, but it is slightly textured from the stippling, but you cannot see that with the naked eye, when you're just holding the model up in front of you. So just taking off the decal, and I want to apply it to his left shoulder guard. My advice, just get it on there, and then with a brush, or whatever you want to use, maneuver it round till you're happy. No, I do appreciate that the decal will actually cover up some of the highlight of the shoulder, but being jet black, you probably will pick up natural highlighting anyway, so it's not too bad. Now I opt for a cotton bud or Q-tip, some people call them. If you're going to use that, roll the bubbles out, don't pull it down, you know, just roll them out, or get a piece of tissue, clean piece of tissue, and just stab down once on the decal. Just hold it there and just slowly move your finger left to right and then carefully take it off. Now, micro set. No, sorry. Was it micro sole? Now this one, the red one, this shrinks the decal down. It's magic. It really is. It works wonders. So this is the micro sole. It's what you use after the decal is placed on the model. It's a stronger solution. Okay, it kind of melts the film so that it can attach itself to like the surface. Although it still looks wet and shiny there, it can make the decal look painted if you do it right. And I didn't wait in this video, so I just wanted to show the end result. But I did apply a touch of Lamia medium over the top of it as well. And that's it. That is my Blood Angel Space Marine for Space Crusade. As I say, you can get similar results. If you use this, you can use the technique for any Space Marine chapter, as I will be demonstrating in the future. I hope you like this tutorial. Please give the video a thumbs up. It really helps out. Share it if you can. And hopefully I will see you guys on another video. And see you out there. Bye for now. Bye bye.